Okay, 276, I know you've been at this for a while. I will tell you, if I am recording and taking a break after 6.8, my suggestion to you is once you have viewed through here 6.8 would be to take a break. This is halfway through our chapter, adult brains as well as children's brains, as well as squirrel brains and fish brains. All of our brains have like a certain fixed amount of time where we can actually spend good attention. You're probably about there. I know I'm probably about there. So please, 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 just take my advice. After this video, go make some coffee, go make some tea. I am going to go work out for a few minutes because I'm getting antsy. You can tell because my arms are going like insane. So please take a break, give your brain a break. We'll come back and we'll get more out of this when we continue after what we're doing here with 6.8, which is returning a value from a function. Everything that we have done so far, whether or not we have void functions that return nothing, or if we have, actually that's the only kinds of function we've seen to date through chapter 6, are functions that return nothing. The opposite side of that coin is pretty obvious, right? If I want work to be done, maybe I send data to a function, it does work, and it gives me the result of that work back. The result of that work is returning a value. So when we went through in 6.1 and 6.2, and we said that the very first thing to know about a function is it has a return type. Int main returns an int. Double would return a double value. Char would return a char. String will return a string. And the thing that it returns is the result of having done some sort of work. So we're finally going to see an example of that here, starting on page 330, working through 6.8. So as we kind of scroll down here, this is figure 6-9. Here's what happens is each one of these functions only has one return value. So even though some of the functions that we have seen have received 0 or 1 parameter, we can actually have a huge parameter list. In this particular case, in 6.1, our function would have a 4-parameter list. That parameter list would take arguments at the time it's being called. So remember, where it's calling from, their arguments, when we are dealing with them inside of our function, they are parameters. I'll stop making a big deal of that as we go through here, but it's important to get that right for now. So C++, as you can see in this example, is taking these arguments and it is passing over as parameters those arguments. Argument, 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 argument. Inside of the body of that function, we're going to do work with it. Argument 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 equals sum. And then what we're going to do is we're going to return that as a value. So what that enables us to do is from wherever it is that we called that function, so in the case that we've seen so far, it's always been from inside of main. So from inside of main, we can pass arguments and get something in return that we can do something with. So that's what we're going to see here. So just to take a look at our value returning function, you can see it's got a type int. It is called sum. It takes 2 parameters. Those 2 parameters are called int num1 and int num2. Then we have a body. So we declare an int result inside of our function. We say that result has the value of num plus, or num1, my mistake, plus num2, and then we return result. So that is our function. It is returning something for the first time here. So from inside, here we go. We can see the program running here. This is program 6.12, and this is page 332. I have to click on to get the page number, 332 for you. you can see that here inside of main on lines number 10, 11, and 12, we have 3 integer variables. They are called value 1, value 2, and total. Value 1 is 20. It has a value of 20. Value 2 has a value of 40. So here on line number 17, we are making our function call. We are going to, let's take a moment here and see. You'll notice that on line number 12, total has no initial value. There is whatever junk in that location that C++ set aside for an integer type variable called total. That's it. So here on line number 7, I'm saying that I want the value of total to be assigned the result of a call to sum. So remember, top to bottom, left to right, in that order exclusively. When we are doing an equals, so here we see the equals. That means that the right-hand side of that equal sign has to be completed first. So we're going to make a call to sum. Remember, sum returns a value. We're going to pass 2 arguments. Value 1, the first argument, has a value of 20. Value 2, the second argument, has a value of 40. So at this time, C++ takes those 2 arguments and it passes them over here to line number 30, which is where we have the function definition for sum. Here inside of sum, I'm going to refer to, and I apologize for that popping up, I'm going to refer to that argument. So the first argument is value 1. I'm going to call num1. Here's value 2. I'm going to refer to that as num2. It's something to get used to. Arguments on one side, parameters on the other. On one side, they can have one variable name, and that has no bearing on what we call them in the function itself. So what am I saying? I am saying that here inside of main, I have a value 1 and a value 2. I am saying that those get copies passed to my sum function, and inside of inside of sum, I'm going to refer to those differently. Value 1, I'm going to call num1. Value 2, I'm going to call num2. This, I know, as a beginning developer, feels really weird. It goes away the more you use this. There is value to it. You can pass these arguments into parameters with the same name or different names. There's reasons to do it. We'll get there. I'm perfectly happy here if you can just yes, I call it one thing from where I'm calling it. I call it another thing at my function and treat them differently. I'm okay with that for the time being. So here, inside of my sum function, you can see I'm actually not even stopping to do any assignment. What I'm saying is just return the value of num1 plus num2. So what that does is take num1, 20. What that does is take 40. And it returns the result back to, in this case, it's line number 17. So here on the right-hand side of line number 17, I get a value returned. So after this function call, C++ returns with an integer with a value of 60. And that value is stored here in total. So that later on, when I output on line number 21, when I output here on 21, my total, that has an assigned value. That assigned value came from a function call. So we are finally doing a bunch of work here with our functions. Inside of main, I have values that I am passing to a function, sum. Sum is doing work and returning that value over to main, and main then gets to assign, in this case, it is called total, the value of that function call. So this is really, I think, the first good demonstration of actually doing work with a function call. which is great because here I think for you and I think for me as learners and as talkers, let's shake it out and take a break. We'll come back and we'll talk more C++ after a few minutes, guys.